Everyone, and welcome back to This Ability Podcast. I'm your host and producer, Mary Baudouin, and today's episode is one of a kind because we're highlighting not just one, but two incredible advocates making a real difference in the lives of individuals with disabilities in our Acadiana community. In this episode, we're shining the spotlight on Donielle Watkins, the Executive Director of the DREAMS Foundation of Acadiana. Donielle brings passion, heart, and years of experience to her leadership role at DREAMS, an organization that provides recreational, educational, and social opportunities for individuals of all abilities. From adaptive sport leagues and summer camps to community partnerships and awareness events, DREAMS is more than a foundation. It's a family. DREAMS is an acronym for disability, resources, education, activities, management, and services. You'll hear Donielle share how the organization was born from a vision to make sure that everyone has a place to shine, to grow, and to feel like they belong. She'll talk about the athletes, the parents, the volunteers, and the joy that fills every game, practice, and event. Her love for the community is evident, and her words will give you a behind-the-scenes look at why DREAMS continues to grow and thrive. Because many of the athletes and families served by DREAMS also train at Train Unique, I'll include an excerpt from Season 1 with Coach Damon Vincent, owner and founder of Train Unique. Coach Damon has created an inclusive fitness space where people of all abilities are pushed to be their best. Whether it's a one-on-one session or a full group workout, Coach Damon meets each individual where they are with dignity, motivation, and respect. You'll hear firsthand how he tailors his workouts, builds confidence in his athletes, and sees possibility, not limitation. His connection to the DREAMS Foundation runs deep, and it was important to me that we bring those two stories together in one episode. Together, they show what's possible when we build spaces that honor every individual's ability, effort, and humanity. With that, let's start today's video podcast. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this episode of This Ability Podcast. I'm your host, Mary Baudouin, and joining us today is Donielle Watkins, the Executive Director of the DREAMS Foundation of Acadiana. Donielle, thank you for joining us today.
Excited to be here.
Great. So tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where do you live, your education.
So I am from Lafayette, Louisiana. I was actually born in Burbridge, but shortly after we moved to Lafayette, I went through Catholic school and ended at Como High School, went to UL for 5 years and became a CPA, and we were going to leave and get out of here and go to Dallas, and then God had different plans.
Well, I'm glad he did, because I'm glad you're here in Lafayette with us, and you are married and you have a few children, right?
Yep. Married Brian. We met in college, and we have 3 kids. One is not the traditional. I adopted her, well, pretty much raised her since she was 5, and the other 2 are Logan and Lucas.
So tell us about, I guess this is going to be a combination answer, because I was going to ask you about your conception of the DREAMS Foundation, and I think that Logan plays a big part in that. So tell us about his story.
Right. DREAMS was not even in the horizon, a twinkle in our eye, absolutely nothing. It was, we were blessed with a child with special needs, and we accepted a lot of things, and Logan decided that he was tired of accepting, and he wanted to change things, and boy, did he change things.
Yeah, I think I remember you telling me the story initially that he wanted to play softball or baseball or something, and he couldn't find a sports area to do that.
Yeah, well, we were actually sitting at one of Monique's games, and he said, when am I going to play? And me and Brian stopped us in our tracks. We were like, we're not sure, dude. We'll have to look into that. And so Brian did some research on the internet, which at that time was very rudimentary, but he did find a league up north called the Challenger League. And so we came to the Lafayette Little League and asked them if they could start. The only question they had was, is there enough kids? And I was like, there's at least 50 in town that want to play.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Tell our audience, because I know Logan, but tell us what he was diagnosed with.
So Logan, when he was born, had spinal spina bifida, which is where the back does not close properly.
And he uses a wheelchair.
He uses a wheelchair. When he was little, we tried to get him to walk with a walker, and he basically said, I'll not do it, and basically decided that that was not something that was in his purview, and we had to accept that him having to think about every step that he took was not something that he wanted to do, and so we had to accept that.
I understand. Now, cognitively, what is his ability like?
He's got lots of street smarts and not as much book smarts.
All right, Logan, my man. That's good. So if we're on the streets, he's the guy to have.
Especially if there are women around.
Oh, that's really funny. I know that the DREAMS Foundation, you started it what year?
2007.
2007. It's been in existence for a while now. I know you're very proud of how much it's grown.
Yeah.
And you have programs, like you have the arts program, bowling, softball. You guys do a lot. Tell me about those programs and who do they cater to?
So the programs kind of just came about as people wanted to do them. So the first one, obviously softball or baseball. And after the first game, Logan wanted to know when basketball was starting. Little did we know then, he just wanted somewhere that he could be on a stage where people would see him. Mm-hmm. So then we found theater. So he created a theater program also. Although he was in regular CYT, he wanted a stage where he could be with his other friends.
Right. And CYT is a Christian Youth Theater?
Christian Youth Theater. So now we have a Christian Youth Theater Dreams edition. And if you want to see comedy, see.
It did take Lexi, Speedy, and I went to the Wizard of Oz production. I was mentioning that to you the other day. And it was hilarious. Yeah. Especially when they improv.
Yeah. It's never the same. Never.
It's so awesome to see. And it's definitely a feel-good kind of show, too. It's just, when you see this gathering of people with special needs doing things that actors would do, and they do it with a lot of heart, with a lot of passion, and a lot of sense of humor too. It's great. I love it.
Their favorite part, which is crazy, is costume changes.
Yeah,
they love the more costume changes, the more they get excited. I don't even understand, but we had to make a dressing room for them.
I think that's awesome.
It just proves that they want to be like everyone else. They don't want to get treated special. They want to be treated like everyone else. And even when it's that they get in trouble, it's almost like they're standing up straight, like, man, they're noticing me, and I need to correct this and make it better. So that means that I realize that they can do better, and so they will do better because we expect it.
One program that just wrapped up last week or the week before is Camp Unique. So tell our audience more about Camp Unique.
So Camp Unique is a week that me and my husband take off of work, and a lot of the moms and dads come in, and we throw the biggest camp party that you can think of. This past week was Western Week, and we had bad dad jokes, we had horses, we had music, we had water balloons, dunk tank. I mean, everything you can think of that is just fun, to just have a lot of fun and be yourself. We had been having camp, and the kids are getting older, and so some of them were like, well, I don't want to go to camp, I'm too old. I'm like, let me tell you something. There are some camps up north, and if I could afford them, I would be there. Adults don't go to camp because they don't want to. They just go to camp because there's not really any around and it's not affordable.
Exactly.
But adults would go to camp if they could, I promise. So once they wrap their head around that, and they're like, so adults would do this? Yes. And I said, you have the luxury of having it. And so now 100 plus kids come every year.
Right. And every day you have you have a lot of different activities. What are some of the highlights of the activities that you'll have at Camp Unique?
So this past one was Western. So we actually had some horses that came that were therapeutic horses, and they got to paint the horses. So I was like, you actually want them to paint on it? She said, watch. And you would see the kids walk up, and they would see the horse, and they were like, I don't know if I want to touch that horse. And she'd say, but what about touching it with paint? And their whole facial expression would be like, wait, what? And so they would kind of forget that there was a horse there, and they dip their hand in it, and they, before you knew it, they were painting the horse all over the place, forgetting that they were touching a horse. It was just one of those crazy things that I would have never thought to do. But this lady she's from New York, and she's just very outgoing, and those kids just loved being around her. And when she left, she said it was the best 4 hours of my year.
That's awesome.
She's retired, and she came just to do this for us,
Yeah.
And one of the other things we had was a TMM Music, which is a new group that comes in and they interactive with the kids.
Okay.
So they had this 30-plus-year-old guy breakdancing.
I would love to see that.
And it was crazy. And the kids are like eyes wide. And then he brought them up and showed them some of the moves. And so about 20 of them got up there. And they were just beaming watching.
I bet. And, I think breakdancing is making a comeback. Dancing was a thing back then. And then it definitely left. But now I think it's back again.
Yep, mullet's back. You never know.
That's strange. Some things should be left in the past.
I agree.
This would be a good time to segue into Coach Damon's episode as he talks about being actively involved with Camp Unique and how he became involved with the DREAMS Foundation of Acadiana. Tell me how you got involved with Train Unique, or how that concept came together for you.
Yeah. Back at the UFC gym on Ambassador, the UFC gym and the DREAMS Foundation had somehow got connected, and we went do a Camp Unique for them one year, and we did like martial arts style stuff, right?
Right.
And they asked if we would continue doing that in a weekly boxing session.
Can you tell our audience briefly what Camp Unique is?
Oh, yeah. So Camp Unique is the best week of the year. Every summer, the DREAMS Foundation puts on a camp for special needs individuals. And so it is intellectual disabilities, the whole 9 yards, kids and adults, 2 different sessions, one focus on adults, one focus on kids. And we do everything from art to fitness with Train Unique to science to praise and worship, dance, water balloons. I mean, it's just...
So you were telling me that's how you first got involved with the DREAMS Foundation.
So 10 years ago, they asked CGM on Ambassador to do a boxing class. And that was me. I was the one who led it. And frankly, it was kind of a disaster. I was 18 years old and never really worked with too much. I had done some stuff in high school, some mentoring, but a big group of special needs athletes trying to teach them to box, right? It was just not what we were going for. Okay. So I was like, okay, let's switch this to fitness. So I switched it to fitness, and having a wrestling and fitness and martial arts background, I kind of started doing things like on the mat with them, like movements, right? So we started with like bear crawls and army crawls and those things, very gross motor skill type stuff, but that also improved coordination, balance, strength, all those things. And we started to kind of figure it out. Well, a couple years later, UFC gym shuts down, and I moved to head kicks on Johnson Street. We have one class going, and it got huge. I got up to like 20 people. So we're like, okay, let's add a second class. Okay. It grew. We started to call it Unique Fitness. Right? Still associated with DREAMS, but its own thing now, because I had individuals approach me for personal training now. Scott Bertle, Nick Trahan, those guys. So I'm doing personal training for individuals with special needs. I'm doing group classes. We add a third class, officially called Unique Fitness now. And then eventually the owner of Head Kicks was like, Damon, I really don't have a whole lot more room for you here. I'm not kicking you out, but you know. And so we got our own spot with DREAMS Foundation on Verot School Road. Not sure if you remember that facility.
Yes.
And it was a partnership between Unique Fitness and DREAMS, where we did our fitness programming there. They did some programming there, some school and learning type stuff there. And then eventually we grew out of that facility. And then now we're in our current facility right in the center of town, big, awesome facility. As of actually got a chance to purchase the building, which is really exciting because, a lot of times in the special needs world, like, you're kind of borrowing spaces from people or doing what people will let you, but it's actually our facility. Like nobody can ever kick us out. Like
that's wonderful.
Is Train Uniques, and DREAMS Foundation uses it for cheerleading, art, whenever they want, and it's my place. So we get to do what we want to do, which is really create a home for our athletes.
Back when you were in school, in college, did you think that you would be taking this route personally?
I think that it occurred to me about halfway through college. About halfway through college, I really started to understand the opportunity and the privilege that was in front of me. And so I started to take it a lot more serious. Yeah, about halfway through college, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And everything from then on, like I started actually like taking less general pop clients and less athletes and focusing on training individuals with special needs. I remember actually I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who connected me with somebody, and he told him in the email, he's like, I remember Damon telling me, let's say I graduated in 17, so that would have been 2016. He's like, I remember Damon telling me 8 years ago that he was going to one day have a program and program offerings for special needs athletes. Here he is now. And so it's like, I think that I've been lucky to find my calling.
Yes.
And early in life, and there just ain't nothing else I can do now.
That is a wonderful story. I love hearing that and how it probably developed you as well. You have probably learned a lot from the people that you work with. You know, these athletes, yeah, they need to learn, but you probably have learned a lot yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, perspective is a wonderful thing, right? And I was actually like kind of talking about that with some people. I was in a conference in Chicago last week, and it's like whenever empathy is something that I was blessed with. My mom's a very empathetic person. Something about it, like I just can't shake that feeling of just wanting to serve this community, right? And I think part of it is because like just watching these athletes go through life, right? And just like, yeah, sometimes they have bad days, right? We all do, but just continuing to show up like every week, every day in and day out is incredible.
I love that you were committed to it too, because you said at first you did the boxing with them and it was a catastrophe.
Yes.
But that didn't break you down. That didn't stop you. You found a way to be flexible with it. You found a way to work with it and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to modify this and I'm going to see how we can mold it into something that they can do. I think that's so admirable. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's probably one of my favorite things about this population. Like you said, like how much I've learned, like it's not a matter of if, it's like a matter of how. That's the real question. That's probably like going back to your question before, like what have I learned? Like probably that. It's not like if, or it's not when, it's how. It's like that is the big question. Like how we're going to do it and why we're going to do it, of course. But you just got to keep on going and finagling things until you find it.
I know you have some different fitness programs within Train Unique. One of them very specifically that appeals to me because I do have a daughter who is in a wheelchair, but you do wheelchair fitness. Talk to me about some of your athletes that you've had in the past and or now and how that's changed them.
Yeah, where do I start? So we have a huge adaptive athlete population at the gym. We have everyone from athletes with cerebral palsy who can get out of their chair and stand, but who use a chair, of course, because it makes daily life a little bit easier for them, all the way to severe, profound, nonverbal cerebral palsy, spinal cord injuries, traumatic brain injuries, spinal stroke. I mean, just like amputees, everything that you can think of, our adaptive program covers. I'm going to give you two athletes off the top of my head. Number one is an athlete that I think of really often and who I look forward to seeing every week. Her name is Catherine Swallow. She has cerebral palsy, uses an electric wheelchair, doesn't have fine motor skills. So we have to find lots of ways to do what we do with her. So I'll give you an example. Monday morning, every Monday at 10 a.m., we have an adaptive athlete session. Sometimes we call it Hot Wheels. Big wheelchair group session. And in that session, you will find a range of athletes. Like I said, athletes who can get up out of their chair, but maybe use a chair all the way to Catherine. For example, we're doing chest press, dumbbell chest press. That is the movement. Have some athletes getting out of their chair and getting on the mat to do it. Have some athletes like Catherine leaning her wheelchair back. We have to strap the weights in her hands so that she can hold them. And she is squeezing with all her might. And her only goal is to touch those 3-pound dumbbells together. On the other side of the gym, I got somebody on the ground doing 40s, 50s in each hand. And it is just so incredible to watch that. But Catherine has learned to compare herself only to herself.
I think that's great that Catherine is able to find what works for her and how she can have goals.
Right. That is the beautiful thing about fitness. And I have one more athlete that I want to tell you about before we move on. But that is the beautiful thing about fitness is it is an individual sport, but it's in a team environment. In that 10 a.m. group session, the other athlete I want to tell you about is John Deja. She had a spinal cord injury years ago whenever she was a child. Those acquired injuries to me have always kind of boggled my mind because it's different than being born. She has taken the bull by the horns and she will get out of her wheelchair and get on the mats. This past Friday, she had a 50-pound dumbbell in each hand and she was going all the way from elbows on the floor to weights touching. It is insane.
Look,
chest pressing.
Dude, 8-pound weights kill me right now.
And so like she has learned to compare herself with herself and just fallen in love with, okay, this week at the gym, I'm going to get a little bit better. This week at the gym, I'm going to get better. And she's working now. She has a full-time job doing some some call center support stuff. She has a worker that gets her to and from the gym. I mean, she's living life, and it's incredible. Being able to have those two athletes with such a gap in between them, but there for the same reason, being able to, once again, compete with themselves only, but have each other in the same session to kind of look to for inspiration. It's like we're all here supporting each other. Like I'm not comparing my weights to her, but like we're all here just getting better in a team environment, cheering each other on. Cortland's in that session, Logan's in that session, Catherine, John Deja, Caleb, Mr. Milton. I mean, it's incredible to watch.
Definitely inspiring. And I know you guys, you have a good website and also a Facebook page. If anybody's listening and they want to find more information, where could they go?
On Facebook, we're Train Unique. Post all kinds of awesome videos, pictures of our athletes. Instagram, We Train Unique. Our website is wetrainunique.com. And then we're also on YouTube, which has a lot of cool athlete spotlight videos, Train Unique as well. And then we're on Google if you just type in Train Unique.
To listen to Coach Damon's entire interview, you can find it on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and other podcast networks. It's Season 1, Episode 7. And now, back to Donielle's episode. Tell me about the Night of Dreams Gala. You guys had that event. I don't remember the annual number, but it's been going on a few years, and I think each year it just grows. Tell us about that.
Exactly. So it started with the Tim Tebow prom. One of the things that a lot of the parents were saying, and even the kids, like, we're going to prom again, which is true. I mean, you're in high school, you go to prom twice, maybe 3 times if you get asked by an older kid, but you're not going to prom the rest of your life. So that's when we realized that we wanted it to be more like a gala, more like a, Mardi Gras type thing. So we changed it to that, and we did our own thing, and it has just exploded. We have 300 plus kids that come every year, 150 to 200 volunteers, plus all the parents are invited. So we have 1,000 people that we're packing into the Blackham Coliseum.
Right, and it just looks like an incredible event. Everybody gets to dress up and just have a good time.
Yeah, they're treated like royalty. They get announced when they get on the red carpet, and if they didn't bring a date, they get to select their date for the night, which is the cutest thing to watch. Oh yeah, I want you. And then that person who gets selected just feels so special.
And everyone gets selected, right? You don't leave any
behind. The volunteers, if they don't get selected, they just go dance with us.
Yeah, so that it's truly inclusive.
Oh, everybody has a blast.
No hurt feelings. Yeah.
No, I saw a volunteer yesterday, and she's like, I did not leave the dance floor. And he knew every single person there. I get introduced to some people I couldn't even keep track.
You're just doing some incredible things in the community, Donielle. Speaking of, and I didn't know how much this was in your initial plans with Dreams, but you've branched off into the Dreams manufacturing and meat pie production. And now you've got a food truck. So tell us all about that.
Yeah, if you'd have told me that when I got out of college I would have a manufacturing company and a food truck, I would tell you we're crazy. With meat pies, no less. But we probably 5 years ago, I was at a board meeting, and I told my board members, I said, we really need, the kids are getting older and they want to have jobs. So we need to get Lafayette on board. And so one of my board members came up to me after and said, I think I have something for you. And I'm like, what is that? He's like, well, y'all can make some meat pies. He must have been like, I know my face was like, what are you talking about? We went, he said, let's go look. So we went and watched it was basically a assembly line. And I was like, okay, well, maybe we could do this. Although it was a long process, which I didn't think would ever end of USDA, God got us through it, and it happened. And then 2 years later, after COVID, applied for a grant, said I'm gonna get a food truck if we get it. Got the grant. I was like, oh my goodness, I have to buy a food truck. From the date I found out I got the grant, we opened 2 months later. Everything was done. It was awe-inspiring and crazy how fast donation coming in right at the right moment when I needed to do the wrap. Food truck standing in my lap with a friend of mine who wanted to sell hers. I mean, it was just
everything fell into place.
Divine intervention. It was crazy. It's hit the roads, and I mean, there are slow times, but for the most part, it's doing really well.
Yeah, and you guys have a lot of variety. Tell me about the different types of meat pies you sell.
Right, so we have 12 different types. We have a beef and pork, which are in most local stores, News, Earl's, and all the other local stores. Okay. But then when we opened the food truck, we were going to do just late lunches. And so our logo is, you dream it, we stuff it. So I said, Brandon, I said, what if we took, this is the chef, I said, what if we took all the stuff that we were going to put in those containers and we shove it in the pie? He's like, ooh, we could definitely do that. So then came the pulled pork and the pepperoni and the chicken Alfredo, which is probably one of the most unique ones we have. Yeah. And then spinach and artichoke and taco, and I can't even think of them all
and
right
you guys
now. Buddha and cheese.
Branched off into sweets too, right? See, apple.
Yeah, we have apple and we have cookie dough.
Oh my God, cookie dough.
Oh,
Jesus.
it is so good.
I bet it is.
Oh,
I need
yeah.
to get some of that.
They're all good.
Yeah.
And so and every time somebody says, why don't you do this? We try it, you
Right.
know? I mean, our dream is to have a cafe where we'd be the Subway of meat pies. And you walk in and you tell the person what you want shoved,
Right.
what you want in it, put it in the oven, and you have your homemade pie.
I love the meat pies too. I usually get them from the frozen section in the store because they're so easy for me. I am a non-cook, okay? Mm-hmm. And it's just, that's been in my blood. Even, you know, I can't use Lexi as an excuse. Like, oh, I have a special needs child. I don't have time to cook. No, not really. I don't like to cook. So for me, just throwing these things in the oven and then just a few minutes later they're ready and they're so tasty and good. Yeah, love the meat pies. You mentioned about Dreams and the different ways that you guys raise money, but how are you primarily funded? Is it through grants or just private donations, sponsorships, things like that?
It's mostly private donations in our fundraisers, but mostly private donations. We have a lot of people that really believe in what we're doing, and we can't do it without them, to be real honest.
If someone is listening and they live in the Acadiana area or another state and they just want to come down and help you with an event, how does someone go about volunteering to help with the DREAMS Foundation of Acadiana?
We love volunteers. Volunteers can go to our website, www.dreamsfoundationaca.org, and underneath volunteers, there's a form you fill out, and then you'll get a response saying thank you for joining. And then as things come up, you'll get emails. The gala, you always get an email, and then you always get an email for camp. But then there's also other times that we need volunteers.
Right, just throughout the year for different events,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. Throughout the interview, and I've known you for many years, I know that faith is very important to you, and you've mentioned it throughout the interview. How important is faith to you and your family?
It's extremely important because when I'm going down a path, my hardest thing to figure out when we're thinking about dreams is, when do I push for something, or when is it not God's will yet, and we need to push back and let Him open the path. The factory was a big one. You know, we kept running into these, what I would call brick walls, and they would vanish the next day. And so I'd say, okay, if you want me to go, I can't fix this. And the next day it would absorb, and I'd be like, okay, I'm continuing. So it is definitely a big part of what Dreams is. I know we wouldn't be where we were if God wasn't moving mountains. In fact, for camp, there's always a big chance of rain. In our big group, all the moms, what are we going to do for rain? And my answer is always the same. That's not our department. God's got it.
Yeah,
and they
good
laugh,
answer.
and they're like, okay, we bring ponchos or umbrellas? I said, I don't care. He's going to take care of it. And every day it would be cloudy, which means it wasn't hot. So it was perfect. And there would be this 85-95% chance of rain. We would go in there and we do 3 praise and worship songs at the beginning of camp. The last one is pray. The roof would come off because the kids absolutely love it. It gives me chills every time I hear it. And it would not rain till 12.
You guys were doing a sunshine dance.
I'm telling you. And every time I would say, did you just see that? The rain went away and they'd all laugh. I mean, we'd get drizzling, but it was no thunderstorms like called for, especially the day that the horses came. Horses can't be there with that. No rain, not a drop.
Wonderful. And it's been raining, y'all, like every day here. So that's been crazy. But that was definitely some intervention there.
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
out of your control.
No doubt.
What is in the future for the DREAMS Foundation?
The DREAMS Foundation right now is really pushing toward job training. We have so many individuals that are graduating high school, 18, because you can go all the way to 22 if you like, but at 22, it's like a lead balloon dropping. There is not much opportunities out there right now. 90% of it to me is that there's no education to the businesses in town, that our kids are probably a more positive asset than any employee that you can hire.
And speaking to other parents that have older special needs children, they're loyal to their employer. They're also eager to get to work every day. They look forward to putting on that uniform and going to work. You'll never find a more loyal employee, I think.
And besides that, they'll do the jobs that nobody else wants to do for a fraction of the cost. So that's a big thing that we're working on, and we'd like to start to open up a place for job training, doing some outsourcing. And when we do the outsourcing, them learning how to wash dishes, do the laundry, and even copies or shredding, and then sending it back out to the employers, and then possibly them getting hired by maybe other employers or anywhere in town that will give them a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you listening, if you're not familiar with the DREAMS Foundation, aside from the website that she mentioned, they have a good following on Facebook, so you'll want to
check out their page, because you guys usually post at least once a day, several times a week, of the activities that you have going on. There's always something going on with the DREAMS Foundation. So be sure to look them up on Facebook, because it's just an incredible organization to be involved with. Donielle, are there any other topics that you want to talk about that we did not discover?
The only thing that we do want to do in the future, which is a good ways off, but we're hoping that it will start with our job training center, to have a community where the kids can live once the parents aren't around anymore. The Unity Village community, the dream has been there for a while. It's a big undertaking, and we don't want to do it until it's God's plan, until he's ready for it. So, and the parents are more than ready for it. I probably get asked at least once to twice every 6 months when it's going to happen. And I used to get really nervous and agitated when people ask, because a lot of the people who are asking aren't helping. The answer is now, it's God's plan. You can see a lot of people run fast when you say that.
Either run towards you or away from.
They don't know how to respond to that. But I truly believe it, and it's given me peace, because it's the truth. It will happen.
Yeah.
I just don't know when.
Well, Donielle, thank you so much for being here today. This was an interview that was great and just kind of flew by. Thank you so much for talking about your family and dreams and everything else you guys do. I don't know how you do it all, but
thank you very much.
Definitely. All right, everyone, that's going to wrap up this episode of This Ability Podcast. If you enjoy listening to our podcast, be sure to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel for video podcast at This Ability Podcast for updates and new episode postings. Goodbye, everyone, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for joining us today for this special episode of This Ability Podcast, where we took a deeper look into the work of the DREAMS Foundation of Acadiana through the voice of its executive director, Donielle Watkins, and paired it with an inspiring clip from Coach Damon of Train Unique, who trains many of the DREAMS athletes and has become a powerful motivator in our community. Together, Donielle and Damon reminded us of how vital inclusion, recreation, mentorship, and a sense of purpose are for individuals of all abilities. Their stories of resilience, teamwork, and never giving up speak directly to what this ability is all about: celebrating strength, spirit, and the power of community. Next week, we'll share our interview with Vanessa Lomas, the founder of TheraCare Music Therapy of Lafayette and the current president of the Autism Society of Acadiana. Until next time, I'm Mary Baudouin with This Ability Podcast, where every story matters and every voice is heard. Thanks for watching.